Lakers star Luka Doncic went down hard overseas in exhibition play, and the injury is not considered to be serious. Stephen A., is playing in Eurobasket a bad idea?
Normally I would say yes, but in this case I'm going to say no. He missed a lot of last season.
Welcome back to NBA Showdown, where we break down the biggest headlines in the NBA with the depth and detail that goes beyond the surface. Today, we are diving into Luka Doncic's recent injury scare overseas while representing his home country in Eurobasket, and Stephen A. Smith's comments about whether Luka should even be playing internationally in the first place. Luka's presence on the court, the risks he's taking, and the reaction from analysts like Stephen A. tell a story much bigger than just one player getting shaken up. In fact, it raises a question about how much of this is about basketball, and how much of it is about a setup to something larger, whether that means fitness, branding, or national accountability. We are going to break down all of this step by step, with each section examining exactly what was said and why it matters. Stick with us until the end, because this analysis will connect all the dots, and as always, do not forget to like the video, share it with other basketball fans, and subscribe to NBA Showdown so you never miss a single breakdown. The initial reporting explains the incident in simple terms. Luka Doncic went down hard during an exhibition game in Eurobasket while representing Slovenia. A teammate accidentally fell onto his leg, creating a moment of panic for the team, the fans, and the Lakers organization, who now rely on him as their star. Although he was able to walk to the locker room under his own power, the detail that he was in visible pain immediately sends alarm bells through the NBA world. For the Lakers, this is not just a minor storyline. It is a potential disaster waiting to unfold. When you look deeper at this situation, you can see the setup forming. Luka is not just any player out there in these exhibition games. He is a superstar who just got traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most heavily scrutinized franchises in sports history. Every move he makes is magnified, every stumble is replayed, and every ounce of pain is analyzed endlessly by media and fans alike. The injury scare, even if not severe, has a double impact. On the one hand, it shows his toughness. He got up and walked it off, which demonstrates resilience. On the other hand, it reveals how much risk is involved in these non-NBA games, and how vulnerable the Lakers are if their new centerpiece suffers a setback before the season even starts. This is why some are calling Luka's involvement in international play a setup. It almost feels inevitable that if something happens to him overseas, the story will snowball into criticism. Why was he playing? Why risk it when the NBA season is right around the corner? But the truth is that Luka represents something bigger than just the Lakers' hopes. For Slovenia, he is not just a player. He is a symbol, a source of national pride. That emotional connection is why he insists on playing, and why his fans expect him to suit up no matter what. The setup here is a collision between two worlds: the NBA's need to protect its assets, and the nation's need to see its best on the floor. Luka is stuck in the middle, and every time he goes down in pain, that tension explodes into the spotlight.
Lakers star Luka Doncic went down hard overseas in exhibition play, and while competing for his home country of Slovenia, a teammate fell onto Doncic. However, he was able to walk to the locker room on his own despite being invisible.
The second wave of reporting brings in Stephen A. Smith's voice. The initial question was whether Luka should even be participating in Eurobasket given the injury scare. Normally, the assumption would be that playing internationally is risky and unnecessary for a player who is supposed to carry the Lakers' championship hopes. Yet Stephen A. offers a surprising answer. He says that in this case, he does not think it is a bad idea, pointing out that Luka missed a lot of last season. That perspective reframes the situation entirely. Think about what Stephen A. is really saying here. Luka is not just taking a risk. He is making a calculated choice to regain rhythm, conditioning, and confidence after a season interrupted by missed games and fitness concerns. Eurobasket is not just exhibition basketball for him, it is a proving ground, a chance to get his body back in sync with competition before the NBA season begins. This is where the setup narrative gets even stronger. By playing overseas, Luka is showing the world that he is willing to risk his body in order to come into the season sharp. That story paints him not just as a basketball player, but as a competitor who values rhythm and commitment above playing it safe. The irony here is that if Luka had skipped Eurobasket, the narrative would be different but equally negative. Critics would say he was ducking competition, avoiding his national duty, or not taking conditioning seriously. By playing, he flips that narrative, and Stephen A's commentary supports that decision. This is why it feels like a setup. No matter what choice Luka makes, there is controversy attached to it. But in this case, playing gives him a chance to silence doubts about his conditioning and dedication. Stephen A is giving Luka cover here, essentially saying that sometimes risk is necessary, and for Luka, the benefits outweigh the potential harm.
The injury is not considered to be serious. Stephen A, is playing in Eurobasket a bad idea?
Normally I would say yes, but in this case I'm going to say no. He missed a lot of last season.
Stephen A then takes the discussion further by reminding everyone of Luka's performance last season, specifically noting his averages before leaving Dallas and joining the Lakers. Despite being criticized for being out of shape in the eyes of many observers, Luka still put up jaw-dropping numbers. Nearly 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. That kind of production, even while supposedly not in peak physical condition, proves just how rare his talent is. This is where the idea of setup becomes undeniable. Luka has already shown that even without perfect conditioning, he can dominate the NBA. Now that he is playing internationally and reportedly focusing more on fitness than ever before, the stage is set for him to elevate his game to an even higher level. Stephen A's reminder of Luka's statistical dominance is not just commentary, it is a narrative push. It establishes Luka as someone who has already surpassed expectations under less than ideal conditions, and now he has the chance to silence critics once and for all. The setup here is not about undermining him, but about building anticipation. If Luka shows up to the Lakers in the best shape of his life after grinding through Eurobasket, then the story shifts entirely. Suddenly, the same injury scare that worried everyone becomes part of a larger narrative of resilience. Luka becomes the guy who got knocked down in an exhibition, walked it off, and then returned to dominate the NBA. Stephen A's framing of his stats ensures that even when people bring up the injury scare, they cannot ignore the fact that Luka produces regardless of circumstance. The pressure is enormous, but so is the opportunity. This is how stars create their legend, through moments that feel like setups, but end in triumph.
Obviously, before in Dallas, before he got traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, even though he was out of shape, in a lot of people's eyes, still averaged 28, 8, and 7.
When Stephen A. Smith says Luka Doncic is finally on this conditioning tip and looks to be in the best shape we've ever seen him in, that is not just casual talk. It is a seismic shift in how the NBA should now fear Luka Doncic. Because let's be brutally honest, for years, the one legitimate criticism you could throw at Luka was conditioning. Everyone knew he had the bag, the skill set, the shooting touch, the playmaking genius, and the ability to tear apart defenses. But skeptics always clung to one excuse. Luka doesn't always come into the season in peak physical shape. They love to say he relied too much on pure talent. Well, now Stephen A is telling us that narrative is dead. He's pointing out that Luka is in the absolute best shape of his entire career, and that changes everything. Luka Doncic already destroyed the league at less than his best. He put up triple-doubles against elite defenses when people claimed he was a step slow. He carried Dallas through playoff series where his supporting cast was inconsistent. And he did all of this while, frankly, not looking like the most conditioned player on the floor. Now imagine a Luka Doncic who is sharper, quicker, leaner, and ready to sustain 40 minutes of relentless dominance without running out of gas. That is terrifying. It means the one remaining hole in Luka's armor has been filled. His step back will be crisper, his drives to the rim more explosive, his ability to fight through switches and traps more durable. Stephen A also emphasizes the fact that Luka just signed a new 3-year deal. That contract symbolizes more than money. It symbolizes Luka's commitment. He has his financial security locked in. He doesn't have to worry about chasing the bag anymore, and now he is chasing something greater. He is chasing legacy. He is chasing history. He is chasing a status that only a handful of international players have ever reached. to not just be one of the best of his generation, but to cement himself as a top 5 all-time figure when the dust settles. And that is why Stephen A. saying he's got his bag, he's got his money, and now he's out there trying to work himself into the best shape that he's ever been in his life is so crucial. Luka Doncic has entered the phase of his career where it is no longer about proving he belongs. It is no longer about negotiating contracts. And it is no longer about silencing doubters. Now it is about one thing and one thing only: domination. A Luka in elite shape is a Luka who can win MVPs in consecutive years. A Luka in elite shape is a Luka who can carry Dallas back to the finals. A Luka in elite shape is a Luka who can take that final leap from being a prodigy to being a basketball god. This is not just about fitness, it is about mindset. Stephen A. is pointing to a Luka Doncic who has matured, who understands what it takes to sustain greatness over the next decade. The league should be terrified because the version of Luka they could handle before is gone. This new Luka is ready to tear apart every excuse people ever used against him. He has the money, the body, the hunger, and the platform. And when you put all of those together, you are staring at the face of the NBA's future and possibly its most unstoppable force.
He's been on this conditioning tip, looks really, pretty much in the best shape we've ever seen him in. He just signed a new 3-year deal. You take all of those things into consideration. Say to you, he's got his bag, he's got his money, and now he's out there trying to work himself into the best shape that he's ever been in his life.
Stephen A. Smith makes a powerful point here. He is not just applauding Luka Doncic's decision to approach conditioning in his own way, but he is also elevating the broader truth about international players. Their work ethic, their pride, and their relentless commitment to the game. When he says he does not knock Luka one bit, it is because Luka has chosen a path that fits him. Some players chase Hollywood lifestyles. Some players get distracted by off-court ventures, but Luka Doncic is investing in his conditioning, in his craft, in his ability to elevate his game. This is where international players separate themselves from the pack. Think about it. Dirk Nowitzki before Luka, Giannis Antetokounmpo now, Nikola Jokic reigning over the league. What do they all have in common? They sacrifice comfort, they sacrifice off-seasons, and they dedicate themselves fully to the craft of basketball. Luka is carrying that torch. He understands that the spotlight on him is global. He is not just representing Dallas, he is representing Slovenia, he is representing the pride of Europe, and he is representing every international baller who ever dreamed of making it in the NBA. Stephen A. is essentially saying that Luka choosing to go all in on conditioning is a reflection of that international mindset, and he is right. Luka knows what it means to carry the weight of expectations from 2 continents at once. American stars often take things for granted, but international players, they cannot afford to. Every time Luka steps on the court, he is representing not just himself, but millions of people who see him as a national hero. That pressure could break most players, but Luka thrives on it, and that is why he deserves applause. What Stephen A. is also highlighting is the contrast between Luka's approach and the way many American-born stars handle their careers. He is indirectly pointing out that Luka's commitment to improvement, to conditioning, to the grind is something American players should take notes on. Luka is not waiting until he is 30 to take conditioning seriously. He is doing it now while entering his prime. That shows wisdom beyond his years. That shows the mentality of someone who wants to be remembered forever, not just for scoring highlights, but for sustained dominance year after year. Applauding Luka for this decision is applauding growth, discipline, and leadership. Luka is setting an example for the next wave of players, showing that talent alone is never enough. You need to commit, you need to sacrifice, and you need to respect the game. By choosing to put conditioning first, Luka is sending a message to the entire league. I am here to dominate for the long haul.
And so if this is how he chooses to do it, I don't knock him one bit. Not only that, I think it's important to remind everybody of what the international players should be applauded for.
Stephen A. Smith nails one of the most overlooked truths about Luka Doncic and international stars in general: their deep, unshakable commitment to representing their countries. Luka is not just an NBA superstar. He is the face of Slovenian basketball. And unlike many American stars who treat international play as optional, Luka treats it as sacred. Stephen A. is highlighting how international players, unlike many Americans, never take wearing their national jersey for granted. They know their citizens hold them accountable. For Luka, playing for Slovenia is not a side project. It is a duty. Every summer, every competition, he gives his all for his nation because he knows how much it means to them. That level of accountability is different. In America, fans are often satisfied if their superstar wins an NBA title. In Slovenia, Luka is expected to deliver in both the NBA and international competitions. This accountability breeds greatness. When Luka steps on the court for Slovenia, he plays with the same passion and intensity that he brings to Dallas. He is not protecting his brand. He is not worried about endorsements. He is worried about pride. That pride drives him to work harder, to stay in shape, to never cheat the game. Stephen A. is telling the audience that this is what sets international stars apart, and Luka embodies it perfectly. American players often pull out of international tournaments citing rest or minor injuries. Luka never does. Because to him, his national identity is part of his basketball identity. And that creates a different kind of hunger, a different kind of accountability. When your entire nation sees you as their leader, you cannot slack off, you cannot coast, you cannot take shortcuts. You owe them everything. Luka plays with that weight on his shoulders, and instead of crumbling, he thrives under it. This is why Luka's conditioning and his commitment to improvement matter even more. He is not just trying to win for himself or the Mavericks. He is trying to honor Slovenia. He is trying to prove that a small country can produce one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And that is why Stephen A. is right. This stuff matters. Luka Doncic represents a different level of dedication that American fans often lament their stars for lacking. He is proof that when you combine talent with national pride, the result is unstoppable.
Something that we lament with the American players, their level of dedication to their nation, to represent their country. As often as they play in international competition, be important to them because, their native citizens hold them accountable. This stuff matters to those folks.
Stephen A. Smith's commentary from start to finish paints a clear and powerful picture. He takes us from the Dallas years when critics questioned conditioning but numbers proved dominance, to the present moment where this player has reshaped his body, secured his bag, and doubled down on his commitment to excellence. He shows us how the narrative has shifted, from questioning fitness to now being forced to respect it, from doubting drive to now witnessing hunger even after a massive contract. More importantly, Stephen A. uses this commentary to highlight something bigger than one player. He draws attention to the difference in mentalities between American and international players, reminding us that dedication to representing your country and sacrificing for the bigger picture is something that deserves respect. It is something fans should applaud and something critics should acknowledge as a model of professionalism. In the end, what Stephen A. is saying is that this player is not just producing numbers, he is rewriting his own story. He is taking control of the narrative by marrying skill with conditioning, securing his financial future while still chasing greatness, and embracing an international mindset of accountability and pride. That is why Stephen A. does not knock him. That is why he praises him. Because when you look at the numbers, the conditioning, the mentality, and the commitment, what you are seeing is not just a player. You are seeing the embodiment of what greatness looks like when it is tested, doubted, and then reborn even stronger.